go get what we want. Hey, hey. It's the best.
We know what we want to do. It's another opportunity for us to get better.
Alabama has won the match.
How you compete, that means how hard you play, how tough you play, how you can sustain in tough circumstances.
My love for the University of Alabama, our coaches, our fans, and my teammates has made this especially hard for me. I have had the advice and counsel of my parents, my family, and coaches in going through a thorough analysis of the alternatives. And without further ado, with lots of prayers, thoughts, and guidance, I have decided that I will be declaring and entering the 2020 NFL Draft.
And with that, Tua Tagovailoa announced his decision to declare for the 2020 NFL Draft. Welcome to Tide TV This Week, brought to you by Renaissance Bank. I'm Chris Freeland alongside Maggie Hetzel.
It was an emotional decision for Tua, not an easy one that he nor his family took lightly.
You know, going through my rehab and then, you know, with my parents, talking to my parents about it, I mean, it's been tough. You know, I have been going back and forth, you know, because, I mean, some things make sense, some others don't. I mean, I just had to factor in a lot of things, you know, as to why I should either stay or why I should leave. But, I mean, we set a date just so we could kind of get everything over with, and we're not, you know, continue to play the, okay, you know, but if I do stay, you know, this could happen. But if I do go, this could happen. So now that it's done, I mean, don't got to worry about it too much anymore.
Tua was obviously very emotional about his decision, as well as was Coach Saban when talking about the impact Tua has had on the Alabama program.
Tua has probably had as much of an impact on our program here as any player that we've ever had. And I'm not just talking about as a football player. He's got great character. He's a great leader. He's done a wonderful job in the classroom. There's a spirit about him that has impacted myself and everybody around him in a very, very positive way. He's had great accomplishments on the field, but you probably don't really fully understand the significance of the contributions that he's made off the field with his teammates and the people who are around him every day. An unbelievable positive spirit.
Tua wasn't the only Crimson Tide player that made their decision about leaving early for the NFL Draft or returning to school this past week. Terrell Lewis, along with Jerry Jeudy, Xavier McKinney, and Jedrick Wills announced earlier on social media that they will also enter the NFL Draft. Alex Leatherwood, Dylan Moses, and Devontae Smith have confirmed they will return to Alabama for their final year of eligibility.
And the Crimson Tide, they rang in the new year in style with a big win over Michigan in the Verbo Citrus Bowl. Stay with us. We'll give you an all-access look at the Tide's big win. It's coming up next.
Tide TV This Week is brought to you by ATI. Built by Bama. Rebuilt by ATI Physical Therapy. Ford and the F-150. Tough runs in our family. See your local Ford dealer today. AFS, a Bayless company. Your foundation and waterproofing specialists, serving you since 2000.
Trust each other, love each other. Let's do this for one another.
She's meant so much to this program.
And I am so proud of this team and where we're headed.
What a moment for the Crimson Tide when they needed it the most.
A double-double was nuts.
We are built by champions.
So much airtime.
We are built by Bama.
Welcome back. It was an old school matchup between Michigan and Alabama in the Verbo Citrus Bowl this year, but Coach Saban and the Tide, they took care of Coach Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. Let's take an all-access look back at Alabama's 35-16 win over Michigan in the Verbo Citrus Bowl. It's brought to you by ATI.
Archetype college football programs kick off a new year from Orlando.
The Citrus Bowl today, 5th meeting ever between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Michigan Wolverines.
Talking with Nick Saban yesterday, he said, we're pretty ticked off about the way the season ended, and he expects his team to play very well today. new decade of college football about to kick off. And Mac Jones going downtown here on the first play to Judy. And there he goes. Goodbye, Jerry Judy. 85-yard touchdown.
I need that block. I need it.
Oh my goodness, 85 yards on the first play from scrimmage for the Crimson Tide.
We had to start off strong, man.
What a great way to start this game.
Handoff Najee, big hole left side, hurdles over a man.
Going up high is Najee Harris and hitting pay dirt.
He flew through the air for the touchdown.
Patterson in trouble and sacked. Michigan's going to have to use a timeout. Jones in trouble. Wow, somehow Ruggs caught it.
And here on 1st and 10 and plus yards, wouldn't be shocked to see Alabama try to dial up a shot play.
Play action fake, looks near side, Devontae. He's got it.
It's caught. It's a touchdown for Bama.
He's in. Touchdown, Alabama.
Pressure coming off the edge, and Patterson goes down. Xavier McKinney just way too fast off the edge. The first team All-SEC safety.
Mack rolls right. He looks. He'll throw wide open. Forrestall.
Wide open is Forrestall. Touchdown, Alabama. Third touchdown pass for Mac Jones today. Welcome back, Miller Forrestall. Well, Michigan had the lead at halftime, but the Wolverines haven't scored yet in the second half, and Alabama now leads by 12. Oh, what a hit. Xavier McKinney bearing down.
Here's Patterson, stands up, looks, far side. It's miscommunication, intercepted by Shaheem Carter of Alabama.
Shaheem Carter is there for Alabama for the easy interception.
Just want to lean on that run game, lean on that offensive line. You're going to see a heavy dose of Najee Harris here.
They get a first down run. Najee Harris carrying Wolverines.
He breaks free. He's inside the 25, down to the 22-yard line. Again, the handoff up the middle, touchdown, Najee Harris.
So they reward Najee Harris for just an incredible drive. And it's intercepted by Joe, and that will end the game.
Alabama has defeated Michigan 35-16
to capture its 11th win.
The season of adversity. What does that say about your coaching staff and the depth on this football team?
Well, I always tell our players, if you're going to be successful in life, you got to have perseverance. And, you know, we had a lot of adversity to overcome. It took a lot of perseverance, but I think the character of the team really showed through in the way we competed, and this is a great way to finish.
It was a lot of adversity, but hey, we're going to make the best of it, though. The boys coming. They're coming.
Tide TV This Week is brought to you by ATI. Built by Bama. Rebuilt by ATI Physical Therapy. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
They're fighting, they're working their tail off every day.
Three-pointer on the way. Bottom!
What a road win for Alabama.
At the buzzer, counted if it goes. It's done!
Top of the key, a three. Got it!
Walker.
Welcome back. The Alabama men's basketball team opened SEC play this past Saturday on the road in Gainesville as the Tide took on the Florida Gators.
With the Tide trailing by 2 at 11-9, the Crimson Tide scored 12 straight points to take a 10-point lead at 21-11. Alabama, they led by as many as 21 in the first half, but a 7-0 run by Florida to close out the half cut the Tide's lead to 14 at 46-32.
The Crimson Tide was able to stretch their lead back out to double figures on several occasions, but Florida just kept hanging around. Leading by just 3 with 40 seconds remaining, John Petty made it a 5-point Alabama lead at 83-78. But Florida wasn't shaken. The Gators go right back down the court with Alex Reese in his face. Kerry Blackshear drained a three-pointer to make it a 2-point game with just 25 seconds to go. After that big shot, the Gators made a big defensive play to steal the inbounds pass, and Noah Locke laid it in, while what was a 21-point lead turned into a Tie ball game with just 20 seconds left. The Crimson Tide had a chance to win it, but a 3-point attempt from Kyra Lewis would be no good, and we would head to overtime tied at 83.
In overtime, the home team, they jumped out to an early lead as the Gators led for most of the period, trailing by 3. A huge three-pointer by John Petty with 16 seconds remaining tied the game at 92 and sent it to, a second overtime period. Florida jumped out to a 4-point lead, but the Tide answered with 4 of their own to tie the score at 96. However, Florida closed out the game with an 8-2 run to come back, get the victory, despite leading by 21 in the first half. The Tide, they dropped a heartbreaker at Gainesville in double overtime, 104-98.
On Wednesday night, Alabama got back in the win column at home against Mississippi State. Trailing by 1 at 28-27 with 4:19 left, Alabama went on a 24-8 run that spanned into the second half to give the Tide a 51-36 lead. The Bulldogs cut the Tide's lead to just 7 with just over 10 minutes to go, but John Petty drained a three-pointer to cap a 10-0 run that gave Alabama a 70-53 lead. From there, Alabama cruised to a 21-point win, 90-69. John Petty led the Tide with 18. Kyra Lewis added 17.
And this past Sunday, the Alabama women's basketball team had their SEC opener here in Tuscaloosa as the Tide hosted 4th-ranked South Carolina. The Gamecocks dominated the opening period, outscoring the Crimson Tide 19-9 as South Carolina led 42-27 at the half. Alabama, they bounced back after the break as the Tide actually outscored the 4th-ranked Gamecocks in the third period, 26-22. But that first half deficit would be just too much to overcome for the Tide as number 4 South Carolina defeated the Tide 93-78.
Stay with us. We'll have our plays and players of the week coming up a little later in the show.
We're going to work our tails off every day. We're going to get this thing rolling in the right direction.
Oh, baby, what a jumper! Kyra Lewis, a huge 3. Oh, my goodness, what a play. Oh, mercy! Unbelievable.
Showtime! Bama fans here at Coleman are on their feet.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week, brought to you by Renaissance Bank. We brought you an inside look at the beginning of the Nate Oates era as the head coach of the Alabama men's basketball team a few weeks ago in our first episode of Max Effort. Now that the season has begun, we have another episode for you. Let's go inside the Alabama men's basketball program for episode 2 of Max Effort.
Yeah, but watching those Petty threes, Murray, I mean, he's not on the line. He's a good 5 feet behind the line.
Petty has the answer.
And Alabama's, my gosh, Kurt, they're off to an incredible start.
Alabama out in front thanks to the hot shooting of John Petty.
What would you tell those people who doubted you?
I would tell people that doubted me, wake up. I'm playing for my daughter, Abrielle. That's one of a kind personality. It's probably one of the best blessings by far the best blessings I ever have. Just to have her. And just her mama and the people around her just to stick by me. It's crazy. She's just like a mini version of me because she act like me. Sometimes she act like her mother. And it's just funny just to see the stuff she do. And my mom always tell me, you did that exact same thing when you was a baby. So it's just funny.
And every time you go home and you see her, you're saying, I'm playing basketball for her?
Most definitely.
The 4th annual Rocket City Classic may be a particularly explosive one. 2 of the best shooting teams in the country, and these 2 teams are going to take plenty of threes today. Here's the aforementioned Shackelford with the drop.
And that's Alabama basketball, what Nate Oates wants it to be. Pushing, transition.
Back-to-back triples for the Tide. Another? Why not? Shackelford. Timeout, Belmont. Oh, look at this.
He needs an Alabama jersey.
Yeah. How about the flush? And Alabama takes the 10-point lead. Alabama by 20. And it's won back-to-back games.
Enjoy it. Look, you guys, we're on a winning streak going into Christmas. We're getting healthy. It's where it's going. We got a really good Richmond team coming in. We can move the needle again and get this thing to where we need it to get here going into SEC play.
In your opinion, who's the funniest guy on the team?
I mean, I am a pretty funny guy. My favorite music artist is, actually I'm my favorite music artist. I'm a rapper myself. Big Ray, coming straight from the Bay, chilling in the A. No, it's not Atlanta. I be rolling Tide with my boys up in Bama. That's just, that's off the dome, you know, something very like, on the court I may seem as this angry guy or something, but really, I'm just a nice guy who likes to eat, chill, listen to music, dance, crack jokes, you know. I could cook a little bit. I'm good with pets, I'm good with babies. I'm not like multi-purpose, I can do it all really, so whatever you need, I got you. Growing up in Oakland, you develop a grit and a passion for whatever you do, whether that's football, basketball, and that's just around being around competitors. Like we raised natural bred competitors. And you know, I love my city, it made me who I am. All the things that I've been through, all the things that I've seen as a youngin', molded me into the man I am now.
All the way from Cali, man.
I play for all the kids that got dreams to go to college. I play for all the kids who had dreams to go to college but wasn't able to make it. I play for everybody who supports me, you know, and I play for Alabama.
Welcome inside Coleman Coliseum, a critical non-conference matchup between the Crimson Tide and the Richmond Spiders.
Driving to the left side lane, then Reese knocks it all the way to the stands. Stolen by Jones. Herbert Jones with a dunk, and it's Alabama 24, Richmond 18. Lewis cuts into the paint, right to the rim and scores. Kyra Lewis Jr. makes it 80-71.
But when you're in the zone like Shackelford is right now, it's green light. Guess who? Shackelford.
Petty weaving through traffic with the dunk! John Petty! Today's final score from Coleman Coliseum, Alabama 90, Richmond 78.
I'm like, what up? I'm like, walk one.
I'm like, walk one.
Okay, we got ourselves to where we need to going into SEC, like we talked about 2 weeks ago. All right, now it gets real. All right, so we got to start to get down to business here, take care of business. I got together, you got to win. Together,
we win.
Makes the catch. An unbelievable play.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
It's a grand slam. Swing and a miss. Oh! Are you kidding me? Wow.
And it's an inside the park home run.
Back-to-back jacks, Bama. Oh, what a catch by Wilson Brown. Are you kidding me? And this one is a shot. Oh, center one-time ball game. Swung on and crushed to left field, and it's another grand slam for Alabama.
Alabama, the outright champions for the regular season.
And Alabama wins it.
First down play, Bama's Jones, long, Judy, he's got it, touchdown Alabama! Oh my goodness, 85 yards on the first play.
Petty weaving through traffic with the dunk! John Petty once again for Alabama.
Handoff Najee, big hole left side, hurdles over a man and flies through the air.
The boys coming. They coming.
Those are our BBVA top plays of the week. Now let's take a look at our players of the week, brought to you by Payless Drugs. John Petty had 18 points and 6 rebounds in the win over Mississippi State. The SEC leader in three-point percentage, connected on 4-7 from beyond the arc as he connected on 6 of 10 from the field for the game.
And Kyra Lewis Jr. had a big game in the win over the Bulldogs. Lewis finished with 17 points and 8 rebounds as he was a perfect from the free throw line, connecting on all 6 of his attempts.
Now let's take a look at next week's schedule for the Crimson Tide. What's next is brought to you by Renaissance Bank.
Men's basketball begins the week on Wednesday as the Tide host Auburn at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Track and field competes at the Samford Invitational in Birmingham on Friday. And gymnastics has their first home meet of the season as the Tide welcomes the Oklahoma Sooners to Coleman Coliseum. That meet begins at 7:45.
Men's tennis has a doubleheader here in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. The Tide hosts UAB at 1 and Chattanooga at 6. And in between that doubleheader, men's basketball will be at home as well as the Tide hosts the Missouri Tigers at 2:30. That game will be televised on the SEC Network.
And women's tennis wraps up the weekend on Sunday with a doubleheader of their own here at home. The women host Kennesaw State at 11 and Alabama A&M at 3.
Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Tide TV This Week.
See you next week, everybody. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
This has been a presentation of Learfield IMG College.